So this word problem, we're talking about that you've driven 215 miles on 8.6 gallons of gas. How many gallons of gas would it take to drive an additional 450 miles? We've already gone through 8.6 to go 215 miles. What is it going to take to get 450 more miles down the road? Now, just kind of imagine what's going on here. If I'm just playing around with the numbers, and sometimes it's good to do this, to get an idea about does your answer sound appropriate. 215 miles for 8.6 gallons, right? If I were to double this, again, and the reason I'm thinking doubling is because if I double 215, I'll get close to 450, right? If I multiply this times 2, what do you have? That means 430 miles for, multiply this times 2, you get what? That's 17.2 gallons. So if I stop right there, it's not 450 miles, but it's pretty close, right? That means that when I'm done in this problem, I expect an answer that's around 17 gallons. A little bit more than that, right? Because I have to go more than the 430 miles. It's not the answer, but it's a jumping off point to let me know, am I in the right area? Just like we talked about estimating numbers before, or earlier this semester. Yes, Dennis? Well, why did I just pick it? Because I saw that if I double this, I'll get close to what the problem has here at 450. And sometimes, had this been 600 miles, if it had been 600 miles, I would have multiplied times 3. I would have been overshooting it a little bit, but it still gets me close enough to let me know, am I heading in the right direction? Okay. Just like if somebody says, they drove 30 miles and, well, it only took me 10 minutes to go from here to there. Like, it only took you 10 minutes to go 30 miles? Do you understand how fast you're driving? Were you really driving 180 miles per hour? Well, I got the Bugatti out there. It was a straightaway. I just kept on going. So maybe we set this up in the form of miles driven to gallons. And I think that's what a lot of you guys did, right? So you went 215 miles using 8.6 gallons. We need to go, this is a distance, 450 miles, so it's miles on the top, 450, to some unknown number of gallons, right? Is that what you guys set up? So then again, we go back to the cross products. So that means 215 times x is equal to the other cross product. Man, don't pink and green go so well together? Don't you love how I make fashion statements with my pens? So when I work this out, this is 215x equals, so it's 8.6 times 450. 3,870, right? And then we divide both of these by 215. So divide by 215. I guess life is being good to us today. Nice, pretty numbers. You never thought you'd get pretty numbers from someone that looks like this, right? Pretty and this just really don't go together, except for me and my wife. Then it works out.
If you don't get an exact number, are you going to ask us to round?
Yeah, the instructions will typically say, round to the nearest hundredth. But you also need to pay attention to what you're dealing with. Could I do hundredths of gallons? Yes. Could I do hundredths of students? I'm not going to say there were 5.72 students. That's weird, right? So real world can tell you whether or not you're going to be rounding to the nearest whole number or the nearest hundredth. If we're talking about money, nearest hundredth, because that's the nearest penny. Okay. You're still thinking about 5.72 students, aren't you? Well, that's what happens when students, Augustus, you know this, that's what happens when students come in late. Don't be the 0.72 student. Be the whole student. So we estimate that it would take 18 gallons of gas to travel an additional 450 miles. Why is it important to figure out things like this?
You can plan ahead.
Real life situations, plan ahead, road trip. Because if you know how many more gallons of gas it's going to take you, then you could estimate how much it's going to cost, right? Now, the gas price is not universal wherever you go. But if you say, you know what, it's been about $3.40, you could then plan out and say, okay, if things keep going at this rate, I expect to spend so much money. And you plan appropriately. So maybe you're not eating at Chili's and you have to resort to Taco Bell. But you know, with Taco Bell, you have to make sure you take your after dinner mint, take your Tums. So, any questions? Good? Go.